what's up? This is Odolena from Odolena Digital. Welcome to my channel and be sure to subscribe if you're new here. Today I'm talking about a favorite book series which I reviewed earlier, which is now a movie. So if you've watched my video about Isak Asimov's Foundation series, it's a science fiction book which I reviewed earlier on. Now this is becoming an Apple original series. It's aired for first time, was released for first time this Friday. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my first impressions from these early episodes of the Foundation and how it differs from what I imagined from the book. First of all, very quick brief summary of what is the Foundation about. If you haven't read it, you can watch also my video with full description about the book. It is about a mathematician who figures out a way to predict the future based on history and psychology of humanity over long periods of time. The story takes about 10,000 years in the future, where humanity has completely taken over space and inhabited thousands of planets which are ruled by an emperor. So it's a galactic human empire. And basically Harry Seldon, the mathematician, founds what he calls a foundation, basically a scientific group which together conducts research and is aiming to protect the knowledge of humanity from the inevitable fall down of the empire, which Harry Seldon mathematically predicts. So now the movie is tackling actually this first episode of the Foundation. There is also a prelude to the Foundation, which is very helpful to understand the Foundation. However, if you start from the Foundation number 1, you will have an idea what this movie is trying to tell you. So the movie actually takes a very long time to go through what's happening in a few pages in the book. So it's slightly dragging behind kind of the speed of Asimov, which I find interesting. I guess like they wanted to have more episodes, that's why it's kind of taking a lot of time. But basically what happens in episode 1 and 2 happens within less than a chapter in the first Foundation book, and there's bunch of there's like 12 books in total. What kind of I see as some big differences, one of the characters, which is like a very minor character in the Foundation, Gal Dornick, who is the assistant of Professor Harry Seldon in the Foundation. She, first he in the book turns she in the movie. There are several male characters that are, let's say, very important in the book that turn into female characters in the movie, which I find interesting and I guess very intentional. Of course, trying to show, let's say, the main leading characters are females and of course black females as well. Again, like Hollywood's attempts to balance down the misrepresentation of gender and race. Yeah, slightly bit too intentional for me. I would imagine if it would be fine if there was 1 or 2 characters, but it's pretty much like 3 of the absolute most important characters in the movie are intentionally changed gender, which I find a little bit too much, but that's my own taste. Also, I find the character of Gal has been overdeveloped into the movie, so basically a completely new character comes out. Gal appears like only in a few pages of the book, and here it's like a whole full-blown character. It seems the first season, which is very interesting. In the movie, she is coming from planet Sinex. This is the same in the book. Sinex is a periphery planet, whereas in the movie it is a periphery planet which is almost in the Stone Age already, and somehow Gal has become this amazing mathematician without access to any libraries. Basically, in the movie they show that her whole world is underwater and she's somehow trying to warn them about climate change, but they didn't listen. Again, another political message moved into the movie. This does not exist at all in Asimov's books about climate change. He doesn't talk about that. Interesting twist. I find it also slightly intentional and political to bring it just into the movie and try to make it speak to the contemporary audience, I guess. In the book, Gal is actually a PhD student, so even though they live in in the end of the galaxy, he was able to study in university, get access to a lot of books and research in order to educate himself. So here comes a bit of discrepancy. Second, they present also Gal as religious, which is very interesting because in Asimov's books, he's notoriously cynical about religion in his books, and actually he presents religion as absolutely as a tool of control and mass propaganda. And even in the Foundation later on, in some of the next chapters, the scientists themselves pretend that they are a religious cult in order to control and keep in check the barbarous, hostile neighboring planets. And in order to preserve the knowledge of nuclear power, which essentially they predict that otherwise is going to get extinct because people are turning more and more barbarous. Somehow Gal is this scientist who is coming from a flooded planet without any technology, any libraries, and access to education. On the other hand, she's also religious, whereas in the book of Asimov, all the scientists are strictly non-religious, like they fully embrace religion only as a tool to control others. So I find it as an interesting twist. I can see that this is going to develop further on because one of the priests that she meets in episode 1, then we see him in the Emperor's palace. So let's see what's going to happen there. Then, interestingly, I like that they included the big jump. This is a concept explained in the the Robot, an earlier book, which happens kind of like the near future, not 10,000 years from now, but let's say 200 years from now. And in the Robot, there is this invention of the space travel across multiple light years, which involves a big jump, involves basically human beings going into clinical death in order to overcome huge light years distances in short period and to be able to travel through the galaxy. We see this visualized, which I found really cool and as part of the visual effects of the movie. I think one of the biggest twists of the movie is the character of the Emperor. Suddenly the Emperor is actually 3 emperors who are genetically basically clones of each other. There is a boy, a young man, and an old man. And we find out that actually for the last 400 years they have been cloning themselves. Basically the same person has been cloned multiple times. And Hari Seldon says that they have to stop this practice because this is going to destroy the empire. And I think here what they wanted to actually imply was that the stagnation of civilization comes from the lack of innovation and the fact that they had basically the same mind, the same person ruling over 400 years brought into stagnation. And this is when decline starts to slowly creep in, and this is what he's trying to present also in the book, is how gradually people stop focusing on the important new discoveries. They try to focus more on the daily, the mundane things, trying to preserve the status quo rather than to disrupt and to innovate. And I think this is what this triple genetically cloned emperor is trying to show in the movie, which I found a cool twist as well. Interestingly, they included the Mertzel as well. So the Mertzel is a character from the prelude to the Foundation, where young Hari Seldon actually meets the Emperor for the first time. And he turns out to be a robot at the end of the prelude. In the movie, the Mertzel again became female, a young woman, not black this one. Again, another twist of characters. And yeah, he in the book is a robot. Over the time when people believe that there is no robots left. However, if you've read I, the Robot, you will know that the first law of robotics is to preserve a human being even when a human being is trying to harm themselves without knowing. And this is actually why the Mertzel in the book becomes a protector of the Foundation, because he understands the impact of the studies of Hari Seldon, of this mathematical model that predicts the future based on history, and decides that this is a very important thing and kind of helps Hari to found the Foundation and to start his work on preserving the human knowledge and softening the fall of the empire. Another weird element which I found is that they included in order to speed up the plot, they included a terrorist attack from some periphery planets, from nations in the periphery of the galaxy, which I find kind of too much Western 9/11 anxieties. Even like the terrorist attack was exactly like activating a bomb on public space, on an airport, something like an airport, and destroying the huge elevator into space, which is one of the biggest prides of the empire, this kind of technological achievement that falls apart and kills millions of people. So I found this also kind of like an extra element which they brought in from what's going on in our society, kind of the anxieties that Westerners have about terrorism. As overall, I would say the film has several pros. Beautiful visual effects, beautiful costumes, interesting plot, however slightly bit too slow for the pace of the book. The book is much faster paced. And a little bit dry, a little bit too political, too intentional when it comes to race, when it comes to changing gender of characters, when it comes to these terror attacks which they present, climate change elements that they included into the plot, which is nothing to do with the book. And finally, lack of sense of humor. The movie is extremely dry, whereas if you read Isak Asimov, he's very funny and entertaining actually. A lot of the characters have a lot of good jokes. There's flirting between the characters, especially male-female characters flirting often, which brings into some kind of a more human element. I find the Apple Original Foundation slightly bit too robotic, too android almost, and dry, out of humor. Otherwise beautiful to watch. This is my verdict. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you want me to review other movies or books. Next week is another video coming up, so please subscribe and I'll see you soon in the next video.